everyone. Welcome to LOA Uncorked. This is Holly.
And this is Gina.
And guess what, Gina?
It's a big day today.
It's a big day,
Yep.
big journey, big conversation, big story.
Yes. Big guest. Big guest. Yes.
Super excited to introduce our audience to Tim Shields. He is the author of A Curious Year in the Great Vivarium Experiment.
Oh,
now, this is very exciting. This is a very exciting title.
I just want to know about this year.
I know.
Let's just,
Well, it's about an epic journey that he took to India with a one-way ticket, Gina.
Oh, sounds perfect.
That'd be brave.
Yeah.
Very brave.
That is.
And allowed him to, I don't know, I feel like it's a spiritual journey, but he's going to talk more about what he learned there. But he also is a ghostwriter, an author, a writing coach. He travels everywhere around the world, even now.
Yes.
The book is a fictional, I'm going to call it fictionalized. So his name is Tim, but the main character is Thomas. It's close. And so I think it chronicles kind of his journey, and he can talk about that. And so we're so excited to have you here on LOA Uncorked. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Well, excellent. Like I said, listen, we got to hear about this curious year. But I think, typically what we do at the beginning of a podcast, Tim, is just kind of ground the audience, let them know a little bit more about our guest. So what I thought would be helpful is to kind of talk about your, previous life, and then this sort of transformation that you've gone through over a number of years into kind of the globe trotting Tim Shields that is you today, and the work that you're doing today. So can you kind of just give us a quick little overview of your background, and then we'll start in with some questions to kind of unearth a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
I decided I wanted to be a writer at 17, or maybe something else decided I wanted to be. I just felt like I had something to say. And I started keeping a journal around then because I idolized my sister's boyfriend, who was like 9 years older than me, an aspiring writer and everything. But he kept a journal, and I just thought he was like the coolest, smartest dude in the world. And I'm like, he was like the first guy that was like, oh, being smart's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying I am. I've made some very bad decisions in my life. But
Everybody has.
I'd save those for books.
Even the smart kids do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It only makes you smarter if you do it right.
Right.
So I don't know. I used to, like, at a young age, I started sort of asking to be used as an instrument of peace. And I even back at like 18, I was writing that the next revolution is going to be a spiritual revolution, because we've explored everywhere outward, and it's time to go inward. I don't know how I knew that, but so I took the pretty typical route. I went to I got a full ride to college for soccer, and then I started doing this. I always wanted to be a writer, but I was just doing this corporate thing, and I was in New York City chasing like the next IPO at the tail end of the .com bust, and that landed me in Seattle. And I was just doing like marketing and advertising. And I just figured I'd be doing that until, I don't know, I wrote a book, but it's kind of hard to do that when you're got a full-time job and everything.
Oh, yeah.
You're giving somebody else your sort of creative juice. And I guess like I went to my first Dr. Joe Dispenza workshop in 2010. My sisters took me, and it was very small back then, and long story, but like we connected with Joe. He invited us to be his guests at dinner, and I didn't remember this until much later, but my sisters said, a couple of years ago, they're like, when you left that weekend, you said, I'm going to write for that guy someday. So I just kept going back to workshops because I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been trying to express, but he's packaged it in sort of a brand new way.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I went to like sort of my first advanced workshop in 2015, and the whole time I was meditating on creating a full-time job, so I had the financial stability to finish my own book, because I had always been freelancing and whatnot, and I wanted a mentor. So the whole time I was just beating myself up, like I'm doing it wrong. Everybody's having these profound internal experiences. And, it was like the moment I landed in Seattle, I opened my, phone. There was like a LinkedIn message from this guy. He's like, I just left Microsoft after 10 years. It's like this new unicorn company. You should join. We need a writer. And I was like, that's interesting. So then I take the train, the light rail into Seattle, and I run into the guy on the street corner. He's like, you really gotta apply to this position. Long story short, I get the job, making way more money than I ever thought I'd make in the corporate world. Super easy stuff. And every day before work, I went to a coffee shop for like a minimum of 30 minutes, hopefully an hour, maybe a little bit more on a really good day. And it took me exactly 6 months to finish this draft of the book. And when I finished, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I actually have a book here. And exactly when I finished, I wound up getting laid off from the job. But I was so stoked. I'm like, I'm just going to work on, more drafts of this book. I walked out of the building and I said, what amazing things about to happen to me. And within 5 minutes, I got a text from Dr. Joe Dispenza's assistant. And he was like, Dr. Joe is in the Middle East, but he'd like to set up a call to see if you would be interested in helping him edit his blogs. So I was like, wow. Had an epic winter, went to South Africa, went skiing in Whistler, went to another advanced workshop. And then, I somehow faked my way into like a director role at a marketing company. I never wanted to do anything like that. Yeah. They're like, you actually have to like lead and direct these accounts. I'm like, oh no, I just want to do the creative work. I don't really want to talk to clients. Yeah. So I probably would have gotten fired, but luckily, Dr. Joe fell behind on sort of his book progress, and he said, what would you think about helping me edit Become It Supernatural? And I was like, watch how fast I quit my job. So that was December 2015, and I haven't gone back since.
Wow.
It's sometimes been a roller coaster and some slim pickings, but I feel like I'm finally in the place that I've been trying to get to my whole life. Writing is, it's a longer road than most arts, I would say. Yeah. And you have to live a lot too, to actually have something significant to say. So, I just somehow innately knew when I was younger that if I wanted to write about big things, I had to have big experiences. And, in sort of high school and college, I was thinking about not thinking about like reading Steinbeck and Kerouac and all these larger, James Joyce, all these larger than life people. And I was like, that's the life I want to live. And I want to travel and have these big, expansive experiences. And sometimes expansive is the joy and sometimes it's the despair.
Yeah.
It's the gamut of the human experience. But so, that kind of took me up to, takes us up to here, I suppose, to a certain degree.
I do love what you said, though, to have, write about big experiences, you have to have big experiences, and to have big experiences, you have to take big risks, which is what you did. It seems like every step of the way, without a net to fall back on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as I was listening to you, I kept being struck by it may be easier in the rearview mirror just to be like this, but it did seem like you trusted even when you were taking the big risks with no net, like at least the way you described it, it felt like you innately knew or felt called to do it in a way that you did it feel that easy in the moment, or was it something you belabored? Oh yeah. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I was like, my sister was driving me to the airport from where we grew up in New Jersey to Newark to fly to India. And I had like a total breakdown in the car. My like 12-year-old niece was in the back, and I'm like, pretty much crying. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I had a great life. Why am I doing this? And then the first 2 days in New Delhi, I didn't even have a Lonely Planet India. I had a Lonely Planet Nepal, which doesn't do anything for you, turns out, in India. And I spent like the first day or 2 days just in my hotel room, like, I've made a terrible decision. And then like I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna walk around the block. And then I just made these, it's kind of the way I roll into a city. I just kind of make concentric circles around like
my strategy.
Either that, or I also, like, the beginning of the trip that my book is based on, I volunteered in India. And I also volunteered in Tanzania once at an orphanage for 2 months. That was sort of my first, like, just threw everything to the wind, and I booked a one-way ticket to Tanzania, and that was pretty scary too. But it's just like, you just gotta, when you leap, the net appears. And there also has to be, I believe, like the fuel of intention behind it. Like, so for me, both trips were about like, okay, I'm gonna find the story. Yeah. And when I went to Tanzania, the woman who started it was this woman from Long Island, extraordinary human. And I was pitching a book about that experience. And then my mom died, and I was kind of like, I don't care about that story anymore. And I'm just like, all right, I've been going home for a decade practically for sick parents, my dad and my mom. I call myself a martini baby. So I'm like 9 years behind my closest sibling. And my dad was also in World War II. So that gives you an idea of just how so yeah, I don't know. I mean, my sister one time said to me, like, I think you do the things you do to sort of combat the pendulum swing of, the fear that my Irish Catholic mother sort of, lovely woman, very fearful.
That was the generation though.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
For sure. Yeah. So I mean, it has never been easy, no matter what I've done.
Okay. But it seems like your attitude, so let's go to like your foundational. So you had a lot of fear, but you had a lot of bravery. You went, it's like when you tell the story of walking out, and I forget, I can't quote you when you got fired or left the job, and you walk out and say, what amazing thing is next? And Dr. Joe calls you. Yeah. And so the book is, the foundation is this journey and this bravery and this exploration and this, all of this. And did you start each day when you're walking your circle, or did you have a conscious practice that you did to get yourself through it?
I mean, two practices, well, probably three, but one, meditation. I try to meditate daily. I, do a pretty good job at it. And then after my mom passed away, I thought I was kind of ready, but it just really sort of swept the rug out. I mean, she was sick for a long time. So, you're sort of fantasizing about it. You're like, what's this going to be like? And then it happens and it's completely different. You're just like thrown into this cauldron of raw emotions and reflection. And so a friend of my sister's was like an energy healer type person. And she said, okay, you're a writer. I want you to do this exercise. I want you to write down 5 things you're grateful for and 5 things you want to create every day. And she said, you're going to find that the things that you create today are going to be the things you're grateful for in the future. And I was like, I'll try anything. So I just started, I probably got a notebook that day, like a $1.99 notebook at Bartell's or CVS. And I just started writing what I wanted to create. And like, I wasn't working at the time. Like when I went home to say goodbye to my mom, and when I came back, like the ad agency I was working at was like, oh, sorry, you don't have a job here anymore. So I spent like a month and a half not working, with my mother on hospice, just like walking around Green Lake every day, like day to day. But as soon as I started doing it, I was like, okay, I surrendered money. I just want the right job for right now with the right people, and I want freedom. So I got this 3-month contract at this company. It turned into 6 months. And then at the end of 6 months, I was like, but I'm leaving at 6 months. I'm going to India. And right before I left, my boss was like, would you be interested in working 10 to 20 hours a week when you're in India? I was like, hell yeah, I would. So I was getting, like
Sure.
US money in India. And then at the end of that 3 months in India, I had miles. So I flew back to Seattle, swung through the office a couple of days on my way to surprise my family for a family reunion. And my boss pulled me aside and he's like, you're going to need money to travel. Just bill me for 30 hours a week the last 3 months of your contract. And I wasn't doing anything. So I went back to Asia, and I was getting 30 hours on a US salary. And then I was working with a friend who he was like the school photographer at international schools. So he paid me $500 a week, free room, booze, board, staying at like business hotels.
Wow.
And I'm just a backpacker. It was fairly epic. But I would write down sort of, I want free housing. I want a new MacBook Pro, and work provided me with one. And
wow.
I mean, I find that the less attachment you have to it, and sometimes even the more preposterous it is, the more it comes true. I mean, I just had this, I don't know. My ex-girlfriend gave me this little thing. It's like, it says book money on it. It's like one of those old things that you would put like your quarters in it when you went to school in like 3rd grade or something.
Oh yeah. The thing you like pinch and it opens.
Yeah, like my grandfather had that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it says book money on it. And I wrote like I have a new book coming out. Well, I have a new book that's being pitched right now. And I'm also working with somebody else on a new book. And one day I went to this this kind of canyon near where I live in Palm Springs. I go there all the time, and I feel like I just download information. It's on like sacred Indian land, and I'm like, okay, there's something to this.
Yeah.
And I just like the day that I kind of finally signed this contract with this agent, and he was sending it out like exclusively to one publishing house first. I wrote this little like life contract to myself, and I put it in the book thing, and I wrote kind of an absurd number on it. And and then I went through all this doubt. I'm like, that's never going to happen, and then I kind of I said, okay, I just have to believe in this. I have to I have to believe in this. And I'm working on a book with somebody else, and we just kind of were talking to the agent, and the agent was like, I think I can get you this number for this other guy's book, which my name will be on it. And I just like sat there like laughing. I'm like, that didn't happen how I thought it was going to happen.
Right.
And maybe I just will get half of that, but what I've learned is that you have to be very concise in what you are asking for. It's a fine line. I haven't figured out the formula, but you have to like leave room for the unknown.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'll give you a kind of a pretty crazy example. This is how should my plan unfold, which the book A Curious Year in the Great Vivarium Experiment, it will be the first of a series of like 5. And they're all based on my life. And at one point I wrote down a couple things like, I want my sister to visit. I want a windfall of money. And April 1st, 2013, April Fool's Day, my house burns down. So I got a windfall of money. My sister dropped everything, one of my sisters dropped everything, came to Seattle the next day. And when I kind of looked back, of course, I'm a writer, everything's a narrative, but I'm looking through that lens. It was like, I kind of called this into existence. So now if I do something like that, I'm like, I add like with ease and grace. I want a windfall of money with ease and grace.
Yeah.
I don't need a big lesson. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
I know it's a sad story, but it's a really important point. I mean, obviously, you are a really great writer, and writing your own book, and I kind of want to know a little bit about the second book that's coming out, but and then of course helping with becoming supernatural. That's a very I feel like that's a very technical book.
Yeah.
And so you obviously have a very strong foundation in whether we call it the conscious, subconscious,
Yeah.
manifesting, programming of the brain, you obviously have a strong foundation in that to be able to orchestrate your life in such a manner. You talked a little bit about like how you want to put ease and grace, and you want to be really careful about how you're asking for things. Is there other tips that you can give people that are trying to we always call up level your life, which clearly you've done that. You went from corporate,
Sure.
moved out of corporate and into your calling, right? I think I've heard
Yeah.
you say that, which is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And you've been successful at doing that. So do you have some really core principles that you like outside of, and we can re-say them, but outside of like the asking for 5 things and gratitude, what else is there for you?
I forgot the first thing I was going to say.
I'm
Alignment.
sorry, I talked too long.
No, that's okay. It'll come back to me. I mean, okay, I remember 2 things: alignment and mission statement.
Okay.
So if I go
Mission
off
statement.
track,
Okay.
you get me
You
back.
bring
to
it
that.
back. Okay. Yep.
So when I was getting close, probably on the last, well, what I thought was the last draft of my first book, I was living at the Oregon coast in Gearhart, Oregon for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like dog sitting, and it was freedom. There's like nobody on those beaches.
Yeah.
And it's just this huge open space of energy and the Pacific. And I was just like running along one day, and I was thinking about this last night, actually. When I'm going for a walk or something, and walks are a big part of my creative process. It's like my higher self is lecturing to me. And I've caught myself, like, I'll catch myself, like when I'm writing, I'm like, it's like I'm palsied, like my head cocks, and I'm like, it's like I'm listening and I'm just trying to get out of the way, and it's just coming through. But I had like a complete mission statement land into my head. Like it wasn't like word by word. It was like, boom. And it was like, I translate light, frequency, and energy into story so as to lead others to their truth.
I love that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that
then
just dropped in.
it just dropped in like whole and complete.
Yeah.
And then I also, I mean, I have a professional one. I help artists, change makers, and global thinkers articulate and amplify their message to the economy of words. But the first one came.
But it's the first one is your core soul principles, and then that falls really underneath it. Really lovely, actually, underneath that statement. So you're saying we should all kind of sit back and figure out. I actually get my downloads the exact same way. I walk and I go, boom, it just plops in, and and so that was pretty powerful. We all felt that. So so that I love that.
There's a I mean, you could just Google mission statement exercise, and you fill it in for yourself. So the mission statement, and then alignment. And I think the majority of people have something much bigger they want to do in life, but they're scared. I mean, I was for a super long time, and I still, I mean, I'm on like the road to who knows where of uncertainty, but I guess I've been kind of practicing this for a long time. I've lived like most of my life in the unknown, kind of. And I mean, the last couple of weeks, it's been not super fun. I'll say that. Not bad at all. Just, you get lost in the matrix of the mind, and I'm like, all right, when is this deal going to come through? When's this going to happen? But I don't know. There were like 3 big events that were kind of telling me that I was out of alignment. One of them was that my Instagram got hacked by some guy in Nigeria. I'm like, how far out of alignment am I? Nigeria. That's pretty far on the other side of the world. And there was a couple other things, but I finally was just like, all right, I get the message. And I had to make like a really big painful kind of decision to sort of end a relationship. And, that's
Well,
never easy.
No,
No, it isn't. And I do. And, I'm believe in astrology, and, we're in April 2022, and it's almost like it's a new year starting right now. So the energy is much better for you. You definitely want to get everything signed before Mercury retrograde. I think that's May 10th. But it is a time for endings and new beginnings. I mean, there is like, I always feel like there is like the Tower card, or the destruction, which isn't necessarily horrible. And then there's a rebuilding of something more beautiful. And I think that's the time that we find ourselves in right now, all of us actually. So you're not alone there.
Yeah. I mean, I just wrote something did a little post on Instagram, something like, the calling is answering to a whisper that only you can hear.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hear and feel something. It's only a feeling, like calling me forward into something new. And if I don't trust that, then shit goes cattywampus. Shit goes haywire. So, I finally acted on it. And I mean, as far as breakups go, it was done in love, but it's still brutal,
Still
and
very
painful.
difficult. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just floating and rolling, and this was kind of my plan to I just wanted to get out of Palm Springs and have different experiences. I get inspired by like movement, meeting different people, different cities, different culture, different foods. So,
I love how much. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious. And you said your last couple of weeks have been challenging for you. And I think back on your transition from the corporate world to kind of more this epic memory making nomad sort of model, business model, life model that you have. And I think the wheel of life that most of us have been running on, and that is made up corporate America, or an industry in general, really distracts from how you feel and what, being present. And so I would imagine for someone like yourself, and so I'm curious, that transition for you, how long has it taken, or have you arrived there where, when you're not so overwhelmed or succumb to rigor or routine, these quieter times where you're waiting for the next thing to present itself or to show up, how are you able to navigate that, or what has been the biggest learning for you in that, about yourself?
Are you patient? Is that the question?
It's sort of, patient, or even just what have you learned about that? And because I think I think a lot of people's fear in change is that, when you get off the wheel, what am I going to do? And how do I, how's this going to work? And am I going to be able to navigate that? So I'm just kind of curious.
Well, I mean, I've spent a lot of my life in those in-between places, and they're like usually pretty uncomfortable. I wrote an essay called, what's the second part of it? I mean, it's basically about transformation. I called it, it's like the chrysalis. It's like the butterfly's cocoon. It's literally a transformation chamber. And, the pressure there is, I've never been a butterfly that I remember. I mean, it's entirely possible in the whole possibility.
I love that I remember. I
all
love
dimensions,
that.
all space and time. But I would imagine there's a lot of pressure in that transformation chamber. And something I realized I learned after I wrote this essay is that the butterfly actually, with enzymes, liquefies itself. Did you know that?
No.
It liquefies itself to become something new. So it completely changes all of its properties.
It surrenders everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
So, I mean, lately I've just as you get older, it's very uncomfortable when you're younger because you're like, I don't have any life experience to go on, and this is a new space, so these are spaces I know I've been in before, and I'm like, okay, this isn't, I even just came to this on this trip. I was like, all right, this isn't going to last forever. I have this incredible amount of freedom right now. It's not always going to be this,
Sure.
free and whatever. And I'm just going to surrender and enjoy myself. And I mean, I also need like a creative outlet. If I'm not working on something, I go a little bonkers. But so I had like some pretty amazing manifestations last year that found me in Palm Springs. And as soon as I got there, my friend was like, there halftime, beautiful mid-century modern place. And he's like, your job is to finish a book while you're here. And I was like, okay. And I thought I was going to be writing this other book, and all of these sort of synchronicities and serendipities happened. I got a new agent and all this stuff. And I just put my head down and focused, and I probably, depending on how you cut it, I probably finished it in like 7 to 9 months.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was writing about.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's divine speaking to you right there, right?
It definitely was. The idea is just like when I would get towards like the end of a chapter, I'd get a little anxious, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't really know what's coming next. And I just surrendered, and I would just go for these walks in this canyon. It's like a high desert palm oasis. And just the ideas would just come in. I'm like walking around like, oh my God, it's coming.
That's amazing.
So
what a gift.
That is a gift. Yeah. So if we were, because we're all about finding more magic and Easter eggs and synchronicities, and how did you go about, or what advice would you give our audience members for finding their own synchronicities?
I mean, I think you have to get clear on what you want. I also realized over time, that just because you generated something doesn't mean you have to hop on it. It's like that might just be a signpost that sort of prepares you for the next thing. I call these like context clues. And I don't know where the song came from, but I was somewhere and I Shazammed this song, and I just threw it on my 2022 playlist. And I was walking through the canyon one day, the day before I left on this trip. And it was this song called like Twin Flames or something. It's sort of not really even my style of music. It was just like this electronic thing. And it was like, I guess I had it on really loud because I was really engrossed in it. It was like, can we flow together? Can we flow together? I kept saying that. And then it was like, or are we just twin flames who met in the wrong lifetime? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm like, okay, I guess. All right. So I had just, Shazam that somewhere without thinking about it. And that action back there led to that moment, and I in my new book, I call these like breadcrumbs.
Yeah, we do. We like that too. But context clues, is that what you said? I love that. Context clues.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks, because I watch this all the time, I like to watch. It's much better for me to watch other people's than my own, but I watch like I call it the web of life. Like I can see, oh, that song created this action, created that thing. And then that made us meet somebody over here. And then, and I can watch the whole panel light up, which is exciting. But I think a lot of people don't read the context clues, and they, would have discounted that song, or, do you consciously? I do consciously. Or does it just kind of just hit you, or is it something that you are on a quest to put together?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm always, as a writer, I'm always looking for the narrative, but I am a completely different person than I was 12 years ago before I started meditating. And meditating just, I think it's so important in this insane moment in history and this bullshit culture we live in and every other thing. It is, I mean, the more I wake up, the more I realize, oh my God, this is all an illusion. And this entire dimension is a program of lies. And I mean, I kind of go into this in my new book, but it's like people don't realize that this is first and foremost a dimension of thought. Everything that is created arose from the thought. Skyscraper, telecommunications, everything. Somebody had to think that. It was the imagination that created that spark, and I really think that there is like a layer of either energy or just people controlling the strings at a very high level that is trying to program us into this matrix. And really, I think that the whole purpose is to entrap us in our mind, because the mind and the ego, it fractures, and when something is fractured, there is not wholeness. I've been trying lately to just walk around with my attention energy in my heart. And when your attention energy is in your heart, if you look at somebody, you're in compassion. If you're in your head, you're in judgment. So I really think there is I think there is an intentional play to keep us entrapped in this three-dimensional reality of fear, division, and separation. But I think there's cracks in the armor. I mean, I think people are waking up at an alarming rate. I mean, at a welcoming rate, an alarmingly welcoming rate.
Yes.
It's just how bad is it going to get until people wake up? It's a collective. We are one. We are not. It's the greatest lie is that this whole division thing. It's like we are all from one, and there's a collective consciousness that we're all tapped into. And I think again, the more and more I sort of wake up, I'm like, this is the dream. This is the dream. In my new book, it's tentatively titled, I have two titles for it. We'll let the publisher decide that, but The Path of Least Resistance, a new model of self-actualization as explained to my 17-year-old self, or The Path of Least Resistance, a memoir from the future. So it's me speaking to my 17-year-old self. And I open up telling him that time is an illusion, So the whole sort of idea behind this book is if I can teach my 17-year-old self all of this stuff about consciousness, it's going to change who we are now, and it's going to alter our future timelines as well.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so Gina and I are very
amazing.
passionate about taking that information from your book and boiling it down to even younger. So of course, 17 would be fantastic, in your teenage years. But even boil it down even younger. And that is the way we're going to change this world. That's the only way, because they need to, we need to teach our children from a very young age their own power. And so that very much speaks to us. I love that.
Sure.
All the people in global positions are shattered little children who are like trying to fill that hole, and
they're like little kids running around in suits and
wounds, with their
wounded wounds people. All absolutely. Exactly.
I mean, I keep one of my messages: if you want to heal the world, you got to heal yourself. That is the fractal, the fractal of the whole. We're all just a fractal of the whole. And in my new book, I also have a chapter called "Where the Fractal Are We?" And
that's awesome.
It's like every life and every consciousness matters. It's like, and then this is again where you come back to alignment. You have to, if you have that whisper, you're just, if you don't listen to it, you're just going to come up against more and more resistance, and life is just going to keep pounding away at you until you get it. And a lot of people don't ever get it, and that results in, you know, divorce, drugs, disease, whatever. And it's just you know, again, we've been programmed over maybe hundreds or thousands of 2,000 years or something. You know, I think like you know, I even religion has been, you know, completely corrupted. It's like, you know, I realize, oh, it's not about Jesus the man, it's about the Christ consciousness, which is available to all of us. And the more we are programmed into this like narrow strata of the mind and of this three-dimensional reality, you know, it's like whatever is in charge does not want us to transcend. I mean, I can't even believe I'm like speaking like this, but it's like, I mean, we have to wake up to this would have been a crazy thing to say 10 years ago. I mean, I know a lot of people are on the channel now.
Yeah, it would have been crazy. And some people still think it's crazy. A lot of people think it's crazy. We're sitting here on the West Coast. We're a little more into that
progressive in that way.
Yes. But yeah, I think that what was I going to say? Okay, shoot.
Well, that the religion of this work and the intersection of religion and this work is a dicey conversation to have, but it's a big one. Well, it's a big one.
And I feel like this, I remember what I was going to say now. I was like, we've been programmed. It's in our DNA, actually. You know, it's in our cells because we inherited them and they inherited it, and it goes on and on and on. Yeah. But you're right. The wake up call is happening. The time is now. And we have more and more people that really understand this. And it's not that anybody's against religion. We're just against corruption and being sleepwalking through life, sleepwalking and taking your wounds out on everybody else.
That's why I'm thinking the butterfly has it. I mean, let's just liquefy it down, get all that stuff out of the cells. It's all liquefied, and then just, you know, rebirth into something more beautiful. You know, the other thing about butterflies too, and I remember hearing this, you know, the chrysalis, as they try and break out, it's really hard. It takes them quite a while to actually break out of that. And if you help them, they can't fly, because the beating of the wings against the chrysalis is what builds their wings strength so that they can actually fly when they're done. So, you know, when you think, overlay that into like,
don't help me, Gina.
The human experience. I'm not going to help you.
I gotta fly.
No, I'm going to let you beat your wings against the wall. But it's like, that's what we all are supposed to do. That's part of the human experience. We talked at the very beginning of the podcast, talked about the human experience, and, you know, there's the ups and the downs, and there's the positives, there's the rebirths, there's the hard parts that really prepare you to fly and to do something new and different and beautiful. So
it helps you teach others through your writing and through your work. So thank you so much for that. So tell me, when is this new book? This sounds amazing. Both titles sound amazing.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's still being shopped around to publishers right now. So, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say much more about it.
Yeah, well, we'll promote it.
But I'm excited.
We'd love to have you back.
We'll have you back, and then we'll be sure to promote it. So let us know when it comes out. Meanwhile, I think everybody should go out and get A Curious Year and the Great Vivarium Experiment. That is a cool title too.
And I think our Uncorked assignment is, you know, to adopt Tim's practice around 4 things you're grateful for and 4 things you want to create,
and alignment and mission.
I'll give you one more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
Two more things, but one more from the new book. It started when I was living in Texas. I was living out near New Braunfels with this woman during lockdown, and there was nothing to do except work or like go down to the Guadalupe River. So I was going down to the Guadalupe River one day, and we were talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and, you know, self-actualization exists at the tip of a triangle, which suggests that it's like a static or ultimate state, but self-actualization is a dynamic state. And so this image of like concentric circles popped into my head. So I have this whole sort of new model of self-actualization based on these concentric circles. And, you know, at the very highest level, each one of these circles represents a new level of self-actualization. And to get to the next level of self-actualization, you have to overcome a fear or a trauma.
Yeah.
You sort of, I never really thought of it this way, but
I
you
love that.
almost have to like let go of the old baggage to expand into a greater
space.
aspect of yourself.
Mm.
And then later in the book, I have like an overlay on top of that model of an evolution of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the book is about the mechanism behind self-actualization, which is the power of directed consciousness. And then the evolution of Campbell's hero's journey is the hero's journey as the evolution of consciousness. So like I literally start before you come into this world with the inherited energetic and physical DNA of your parents. This is something that's been passed down. And then, you know, you have to overcome the conditioning and the programming. And then there's, you know, sort of the shattering of like the, you know, what you thought reality was. And, you know, you get up to like recognizing that energy is greater than matter. And I originally had the like the mystic being the last one, but I was talking to Joe Dispenza one day, and I was like, "Do you think it's possible to become an ascended master?" And he's like, "Of course, that's what we're doing here." And I had a conversation with one or two other people recently, and they were like, "I think it's something to shoot for." And I mean, it's pretty damn lofty, but you know, it's the journey of life, and who knows, like time and energy and everything is speeding up so much. Who knows what's possible?
Exactly.
I mean, I'll throw the bobber out there into the future. I don't know if I'm going to make it this lifetime, but something to shoot for.
I love that. And
Ascended
you know
master.
what? Ascended masters. Why would it
Why
only
not?
be back then? Why can't we have it now?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And why can't it be Tim Shields?
Why can't it be?
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta get cooking around those circles there.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Get running. Get running in Austin.
I mean, I think that like as a writer, you know, what I'm writing about are the things that I'm exploring in my life, that I'm trying to solve, that I'm trying to whatever, you know, and I'm quite certain that the things that I throw out, people will take it and master it themselves. Doesn't mean I'm going to master it.
Yeah. Sure.
I just maybe laid out a roadmap or something, but
you're the inspiration for it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, I love this story. I love our time together. I love all the nuggets you gave us and our audience. We appreciate
all
you.
Those nuggets in the show notes.
Go get the book. We're looking forward to your second book, and we will promote that when that occurs. And we're so thankful and honored that you would spend this time with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, you can find the book, A Curious Year is the website.
Okay.
On Instagram, I'm at The Real Tim Shields.
Okay.
I'm being pushed. I haven't done it yet, but talked into doing TikTok. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know much about it. Yeah. But I thought I could, I mean, I was like, well, maybe it's just a different type of platform to just
It is.
do what I think about whatever consciousness in that moment.
And as much as you travel and the way in which you live your life, it would be inspiring for people to.
I think TikTok is
TikTok would. Yeah, I actually think
we intuitively think that that's good.
I really do.
We're not doing it ourselves yet, but we think.
But it's short. It's short little nuggets.
And
it's observations. It's things that probably come so naturally to you that doesn't come as naturally to everyone else, because you are a writer. You are paying attention in a way that.
And you're traveling, and you could. Yeah, there's so many uses. We're making them up in our minds right now. So all right, TikTok, let us know.
Yeah.
And also on the website of Curious Year, there's a beautiful book trailer.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And then my nephew, right underneath that link, my nephew at 19 had created a pretty amazing soundtrack.
It's beautiful. Yes, the soundtrack is amazing.
It is. It's
and
incredible.
My son creates music, and I'm gonna have to actually share that with him. I haven't shared that with him. He's a music creator. So
my nephew just I think he's flying home from Nashville today. He got invited writing music rooms for like a week with a bunch of
I
artists.
love that. My
Very
son
cool.
studied in Nashville.
My daughter's
Yeah.
in Nashville.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
we love
music.
Nashville.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
I
thanks
really
so much.
enjoyed
Yes,
yeah, I
thanks so
enjoyed
much
our
for being here.
conversation. Thank you so much for the
That
time.
was fantastic to have you today, Tim. Thank you so much. Safe
My
travels.
pleasure.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.